Welcome, everyone. I am so excited for this moment here. I invite you to take a moment, relax, lean back, because you're in for a great treat. Yanni, thank you so much for being a part of the 2026 Women of Color Leaders Symposium. I am delighted of your topic, the archetypal journey. Yanni teaches a course for women that help you to reflect and use tarot as a form of information to inform your intuition. The title of her workshop today is The Archetypal Journey, a journey that blends archetypal imagery, intuitive writing, and gentle rituals to help women lead their lives from the inside out. I want to share a little bit with you about who Iane is. Iane Campos Siddique is a multilingual educator with a background in languages and literature and an MA in Interactional Sociolinguistics. Only a linguistic can say that. She has spent many years teaching and creating learning processes and spaces where people can reflect and express themselves through writing. Her work is shaped by her experience as a mentor to a range of age groups, her community centered approach, and her personal hobby of intuitive artistic collage. Alongside her educational skills and her path, she also supports individuals and families in navigating practical decisions to long term financial protection. Across all the roles, Iane is committed to helping people cultivate clarity, worthiness, and a deeper sense of wholeness. I am excited, I am honored, Iane, to turn the floor over to you, and I am ready to take notes and see how tarot can inform me, my business, and my growth. Thank you, Iane, for being here.
Thank you, Santa. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us. I'm really excited to be part of this Freedom Reset Symposium, in which we will create a new narrative of success for women of color. And what I'm going to present to you guys today is about how tarot and the imagery has been used throughout the centuries as a mirror to human development, to new steps, to building projects, businesses, starting a new life. And it's very exciting that throughout the centuries, many scholars studied that tool as not only the images, but also the words on it. Um, we're going to be exploring how symbolic imagery, intuitive writing can help we women to lead with a reconnection with our clarity, worthiness, and inner guidance. How does tarot do it? How can you use tarot for that? Just a quickly history about tarot, which has been used since the 15th century. We we don't actually know who created tarot because it's a popular creation. But in the 20th century, many scholars like Carl Jung and Mary-Louise von Franz and Rachel Pollack and so many others that you may already know have been seeing tarot as a psychological mirror of what part of that journey we are right now in our lives. In that sense, we have here the 22 archetypes that show a map of human development, starting with the Fool, which is the beginning of a new project or a new moment, a birth, for example, or a marriage, or any new project or idea, or even a sense of something new is coming. And this whole trip until the world, with the last card, we are going to go through this underlying development path, which is innocence, initiation, shadows, integration, and wholeness. How many times in our lives we go through this whole cycle, right? And it's great that Tarot symbolizes that and helps you to understand, it helps me to understand where I am in that journey. That's why Tarot has been so important and in use in so many cultures. For example, I'm going to give a few examples. The cards are usually they usually work in clusters of meanings. For example, the Fool, the Magician, and the High Priestess, which are the three first cards, they usually bring you that sense of beginning, of agency with the magician. The magician has all his tools here on the table and his uniting knowledge from above and from concrete, from the present. So, what is that in our lives? Are we in that moment? Or are you in a moment of doubting yourself? Or are you in a moment of being in connection with your own voice? Or is it a moment to surrender? For example, here in a hanged man, death and temperance, the hanged man being the meaning of surrendering. What parts of our lives are you in that part right now? Are you in that exactly moment in which you have to surrender to things you cannot change and learn how to handle them? So as you use tarot as that tool, you're gonna be seeing in what you do with that feeling, with that moment that you're living. For example, with the Fool, the theme of this card is sacred innocence, that innocence that starts everything, that burst of energy, of idea, enjoyment, something that you start because you just love that, and then that trust that helps you to follow your impulse of life, right? And the lesson that this card may bring is that you begin without any guarantees. Isn't it? Doesn't it sound like when we start a business, when we start in a new career, we start to, we want that to bring us fruits, but we just in that for that energy of starting something, and then we let our intuition to lead us, and then we're going to reflect. You may reflect when you're using any deck of tarot that you may have. What part of life is asking me for a leap of faith? If not now, then there was a time when life asked you for that leap of faith. Then you can practice that concept by doing one small thing today without overthinking. I'm gonna go dance, you go dance. I want you to buy me some crayons and start coloring. You just go and color. This type of feeling that makes you alive. But then there's a shadow question, right? That's what deepens the knowledge, which is where do you confuse impulsivity with intuition? Right? It's so interesting when you start to think of your own life, each moment like that. So this is one example of how you can use the cards, the whatever deck you have home. The same is going to be done for all cards. For example, the magician, you have so the theme of the magician is skill, communication, conscious intention. You see, because why skills? See the tools on the table, see his posture of authority and the endless possibilities, the infinite sign. So the lesson that's here, it's given to us, could be you shape reality through focus and clarity. That's so important in any moment of life. But when you have a business, when you have a career, when you lead, this is crucial, right? how you're going to use those tools, how you're going to display them on a moment. Then the reflection is what tools, skills, talents, resources are you underusing? So interesting, right? So when you have there your tarot and you get a magician, that's what the card is asking you. Then you could practice to write a power inventory of your abilities. Can you imagine how cool? You just sit down and you write your an inventory of things that I'm good at. Sometimes we forget that we criticize ourselves so much, and then right away we have a shadow question too to balance the two sides, right? Which is, where do you talk about change instead of acting? Wow, powerful, right? So that's what I think is so exciting about having looking at the cards that way. We have the third card of tarot, which is the High Priestess. And this card is so meaningful to us women, mainly because she's a woman in a position of prestige, of power. And by itself, it says a lot to us, right? The theme of this card usually is mystery, intuition, and the unconscious, also symbolized by the half moon at her feet and the waters of her robe. The lesson that this card may bring is wisdom emerges when you descend inward, which sounds really mysterious because what's inward? This whole exercise is about that trip inward to understand your motivations and your feelings and actually connect with your inner voice. We are so used to hear what's a trend, what makes more money, what we should be doing. Everybody has an opinion about it. And mainly this times where we are living, everybody has an opinion about what a woman should do. But this card brings you to the reflection, what inner truth have you been avoiding? Because that's your own truth, my own truth. And why avoiding? What is in that? Whatever it is, it's for my benefit. Uniting, connecting with this avoidance, with this element that's been avoided, is it's nourishing and it's powerful. And the practice that's suggested usually is to spend 10 minutes in silence, noticing what rises from that question about the inner truth that we have been avoiding. And on the other side, we have the inner question, which is, where do you fear your own depth? Right? Depth is power, and it's something that only you have, right? Nobody else, no trends, no commercials, no celebrity. It's you, it's in the deep of yourself. So this card is going to invite you to make that analysis. And so a good exercise for you, it's you get any deck, you take one card, and you look at that card. Then you breathe and you think, what is this card inviting me to? What does this reveal about my inner leadership? And then you wait for the answers. You can write or you can just breathe and feel in your body. And then you're going to answer, what surprised me? What emotions surfaced? What part of myself spoke the loudest? That's so interesting. That's such a treat. It's a mental spa, I would say, this type of exercise. And you're gonna have, if you look at the at tarot at this way, it's a tool that's always at your hands, and you don't have to hear anybody else. You don't need a manual. You only need the practice to look at yourself, the moment of your life, and what the card invites you to. So, if you want to have a group of women who partake of those feelings, of those that interest of going to the journey of self knowledge, of empowerment, from knowing yourself through tarot, we will be really glad to receive you in our archetypal journey writing course for women who lead. So, here's my email, and it's a pleasure to be with you all. Thank you, Santa.
Mm. Thank you, Iane. What a wonderful gift. Yes, we don't have to be alone. That's what this whole tarot presentation tells me is that number one, you don't have to be alone. You can get inner wisdom by just being prompted by the tarot, right? But also that if you're feeling like this resonates with you and you just want to be in a group of women, community, and women who are spending time really tapping into their inner voice, then this may be something you want to continue to explore. Iane, I thank you so much for being part of the symposium, for bringing all of this wisdom, and for sharing this ancient medicine with us in a very simplified, how do we use it? It's not so mysterious. It's all about going within and taking time to see what your intuition tells you. So, folks, if you want to engage in more of this kind of activity, you know how to reach Iane Campos Siddique, and you will definitely be able to listen to this recording again later on demand. Thank you for your participation to the Women of Color Leader Symposium. Thank you, Iane. Good to have
Thank
you
you,
here.
Santa. Thank you, everybody.